Under the same moon, we share the love, embracing the differences like hand in glove. Spreading peace and joy, it's a beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And now do we stand in love's pure might, watching the world share in love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Watching the World 777 Saturday. What does your day look like? What do you have going on today? Thank you guys for tuning in with us as we cover some major developments when it comes to global news. It's so great to have you guys here. Bright and early, we had James, we had Stella. Thank you guys for being strong supporters here, great watchers. Today, we're going to cover a new case be in court. I just picked this case up. So Monday, Tuesday, I'll be in court. We're going to go through that case at the end of this show. I'm going to prep you guys on what's going to happen. I'll be traveling out to Massachusetts to cover this case. It's quite the case. You're going to like this case. I'll be boots on the ground. I'll be in court. So we look forward to that this week. We also have Nicolas Maduro. I'll be in court with Nicolas this week too on the 26th. You definitely want to be there for that. Last time we had a lot of individuals from Venezuela show up. I actually sat in court last time with an individual that were captives or they were in prison under Maduro, and there was a lot of exchange, a lot of heat in the kitchen, folks. If you can't stand the heat, get your bleep out of the kitchen. That's what my grandmother used to say. Also, we had Antifa there. Will they be there again this week? Well, we'll cover it. When I cover these cases in New York, you have to be prepared for anything. And then on top of all of that, right, you also have to focus on what in the world is happening with this war. We might as well call it a war at this point. There's extensive fighting from both sides in all different angles, so we're going to call it that. Today, we're going to get into this whole situation with the war with Joe Kent. Joe Kent was a high up in the administration of Donald Trump. He was one of the lead men when it comes to counterterrorism. And guess what? He resigned. And do you know why he resigned? He resigned because he said, this is Israel's war. Why would the man do that? Why would he, after having all of this intelligence, say, listen, no, I cannot send American troops over to fight a war, have these young individuals, old, lose their lives for an unrighteous cause? What do you say about that? We have to factor all of this stuff in. Sometimes people say, oh, this guy is espionage. This guy, he's a loser. Okay, it's okay to have your viewpoint, but oftentimes it's important to try to understand what caused this to happen. What does it mean? You look at the entire picture. We don't just quickly rule things out. Thinking about that, I want to touch on something, and I don't want to get into it too deeply, right? But a lot of times I will tell you this, different things happen suddenly. We hear about different cases. When I was out in Tucson, Arizona at Nancy Guthrie's home, remember I told you what happens, right? When I cover these cases, even Sean Diddy Combs, I'm out there in the courtyard, I'm in the courthouse. There's a point in the case, okay? You guys are with me? There's a point in the case where the news starts covering the YouTubers start covering the news, because that's a good indication that things are starting to die down. So that's what we saw in Tucson, Arizona. Once they figured out, oh, we're not going to find Nancy. Oh, well, let's start making content on other creators. And you see that happen. You'll see people. And guess what? It's all for the love of the clicks. Clicks are a high commodity nowadays. It's the lifeline, because clicks is often an indication of attention, right? So some people do it for the money, but in most times, people nowadays they want so much attention and they go through great lengths to get it. So, at any rate, I will say this: when allegations and things develop at Watching the World, I don't really pick up on those type of stories until they're in court. And then if I attend court, I'll speak about the things seen and heard in court. And I try to give too much private speculation or my opinion, right? Because oftentimes that's when you start to get into the weeds, okay? So I just want to let you guys know that. So getting to the actual news today, that's why you won't hear me speaking about all sorts of crazy stories that are floating about, unless it's something that's actually in court and something that we could actually quantify. My mother was a great fan of the man that lost his life. We're reporting bad news about Chuck Norris. In fact, we're going to get to that now. And again, stick around to the end of the show. We're going to actually break down this new case we will be covering starting on Monday in Massachusetts. Let's get to it.
So now 10:30 in New York, and back in the breaking news, the family of Chuck Norris saying that the Walker, Texas Ranger star has died at the age of 86. Carly Shimkus joins us now here in New York for more on the life of American legend.
Man, oh man, American legend. Let's repeat that one. And we woke up to news yesterday that Chuck Norris was hospitalized in Hawaii. TMZ reported this happened on the island of Kauai over a medical emergency. We don't know the details of what that was just yet, but we do have indication that this happened all of a sudden because a friend of his said that they were talking on the phone. He was in good spirits. He was cracking jokes, and he just celebrated a birthday earlier this month.
How many of you in the audience are actually fans of Chuck Norris? Have you watched any of those shows? Put some of those shows in the chat if you can recall some of the featured shows he was in. Let's see.
Then I was looking at his social media, and he noted his birthday by sparring with his trainer.
Of course.
I mean, as one does when you're Chuck Norris, and his caption was, "I don't age, I love."
Okay, thank you, Takaris. Life, Walker, Texas Ranger. That was my mother's favorite show. Rest in peace to her, and also to Chuck Norris now. Thank you.
Level up, kind of leaning into that internet meme about himself.
What did the family have to say?
All sad today. Well, they released a beautiful.
And guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Thank you very much for bringing awareness to the channel. Thank you.
And lengthy statement, and we have it here if we could pull it up. They say, "It is with heavy hearts that our family share the sudden passing of our beloved Chuck Norris yesterday morning. While we would like to keep the circumstances private, please know that he was surrounded by his family and was at peace. To the world, he was a martial artist, actor, and a symbol of strength. To us, he was a devoted husband."
This was an amazing guy. I've always been a fan of his shows. I mean, I would watch before we had the term binge watching, especially when it comes to nowadays. It's so easy to stream. Just to be able to watch Walker, Texas Ranger, and some of his other work was amazing growing up.
A loving father and grandfather, an incredible brother.
Okay, Uncommon Woman says her mother's favorite show as well. We have something in common.
And the heart of our family. Wow. He lived his life with faith, purpose, and unwavering commitment to the people he loved. Through his work, discipline, and kindness, he inspired millions around the world and left a lasting impact on so many lives. I mean, just imagine those beautiful words. Clearly, as they say, the heart.
Caprello says Chuck Norris, the second greatest American behind Trump. Okay, thank you for your comment. Thank you. Cowboy, thank you. Mel, my stepdaughter trained with Chuck Norris many years ago. He was a great guy. Thank you for that personal touch to this story. Thank you, thank you. Lisa says, I don't care that he's MAGA. Thank you. Let's get to it.
The family. He had 5 children, and of course, Walker, Texas Ranger was his main role that I think most people know about him in the movie world. Okay,
so we definitely will be remembering Chuck Norris for a mighty long time. I'm going to have to pull up an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger and check it out, folks. What a great guy. Now we're going to look at a story here in regards to Joe Kent. I cover it it this week.
This decision.
Now, before we dive into this, I want you guys to ask the question, why is this guy coming forward to talk about the Trump administration actually saying basically this war in Israel is not good for America, it's not for America. And he actually talks about, now keep in mind, was the leading guy as of 2 days ago to counter terrorism in America. He saw something that made him change his mind. And on top of that, in the video we covered this week, he talked about how Israel could have been tied to Charlie Kirk's unalivement in some way. He was questioning that. He also pointed out that the event that happened with the president of the United States in Butler, Pennsylvania, that it somehow was connected to Iran. So these are weird stories we're starting to hear. So I think it's very important to pay attention to this guy, whether you like him or not. I think the information is quite revealing.
To follow your conscience. Give us a little backstory. How did that happen?
Without getting too much into detail, I just did a long-form podcast with Tucker, kind of laid out the entire politics of the issue. But look, after serving 20 years, mostly deployed to the Middle East, fighting the wars over there, and just seeing how our country had been lied to and brought down the wrong path in those wars, and that we were getting sucked into another one, and that the American people didn't have the full story, and our country did not have a vital national interest in this current fight. I said, hey, I in good conscience can't do this, because that was a promise I made to myself probably 20 plus years ago when I was deployed to Iraq. Once I realized after my first couple deployments that we weren't there for the reasons that our government told us we were there for, I said, if it's ever my turn, if I'm ever an adult in this situation.
So he's trying to say in essence that Israel is pulling America into actions and wars that we are not getting the real truth about. What do you guys think in regards to this? Are you intrigued by what he's saying? Are you amazed that he's willing to come out and reveal such things at a time like this when we're actually at war? Also, we heard recently that Tucker Carlson is under investigation by the CIA. He actually expressed on his channel that they're into his text messages, emails, looking to build a case perhaps to lock him up. So in a time like this, we hear other reports about Candace Owens perhaps being looked at because she's revealing such things. So it's shocking that this guy, Joe Kent, would come out right now. But tell us what you think. Do you think it's wise of him? Do you believe what he's saying? Give us some indication.
I ever have a position of responsibility, I will not, in good conscience, send young men and women off to die on foreign battlefields.
So we're Catholics here, and I believe you're a baptized Catholic. We saw just on Sunday, and this is so great to see, because people are like, why a Catholic champion or why here? The Holy Father, the Vicar of Christ on earth, has been so strong and outspoken in recent comments talking about what Catholics should be worried about, the innocent people that are being hurt through all this. He mentioned the Catholic priest that was killed, Father Pierre, by an attack in Lebanon. Does it help you to have either members of your faith community or religious leaders speaking up on your behalf? Like, what's it been like to have that support from outside?
It's been huge. I quite frankly didn't think when I submitted my resignation it would get the traction or the attention that you talked about. But having this support from friends, family, but really I've been asked a couple times, was it a hard decision to make? And it's definitely a decision I didn't make lightly. I put a lot of thought into it, and I'd been thinking about it for quite some time. But having faith, I think I was able to hear God's voice. I was able to hear that I was exactly where I was supposed to be, and it was my time to actually take action, which made taking the action incredibly easy, actually. And actually,
so basically, he's saying he woke up, right? So he was very supportive of Donald Trump, President Trump and his administration, the wars. This man, if you go back to his history, is quite extensive. He's been in so many wars throughout time, but yet something happened here. And did you notice he said it was a message that he received from God telling him that he needed to really let people know basically that this is about Israel and not necessarily about what's right and wrong or the American people. This is probably one of the most interesting situations we've seen develop with someone in the middle of a war actually resigning with all of this intelligence. And within 48 hours, he was being interviewed, and there was so much we were able to glean from the interview he had with Tucker Carlson.
Made me feel very liberated and like I'm in the right spot. So.
Okay, guys. Lisa says, yes, I agree. Charlie Kirk was connected to Israel. Thank you very much. We have James. James says, Mel, I believe Tucker will be indicted in the next 2 weeks. I've been watching the case. Okay, system we use. It can also be a secret indictment under seal. Wow, what does this mean? You know, these guys are actually, it seems that anyone that is talking up or speaking up at this time against government or against the president, they're really facing the heat. Should I hit the list? We have Letitia James. We have John Bolton, Don Lemon. We have Tucker Carlson. I mean, the list goes on and on. You have Joe Kent. I'm pretty sure he'll be pulled into the quagmire of in some serious situation, you know. Why would you even ask for this type of press and have all this pressure on your neck, especially when you see that this administration is really taking action against people that have spoken up or continuously speak up about politics or against the president? You see what's happening in Georgia when it came to those individuals that brought cases against the president of the United States, right? These are very serious times, so I'm pretty shocked, but we're going to cover it either way.
Do you have hope for America? And if you do, why so?
J Cat, welcome in. Nice to have you back. J Cat says, this war is because Israel said they needed it to happen. A lot of people are pointing that out. Also, right, Lisa, we also have James Comey. James Comey took the heat too. We have Vince here. Welcome in, Vince. Vince says, when all you fools realize that it's all a Roman circus, it will be too late. Okay, so I'm going to just address what Vince had to say because I just came back from Rome not too long ago, and I was there at the big Colosseum, and that's one of the things they told us at the Colosseum is that whenever politics was swaying too far to the left, and a great point, Vince, thank you for bringing this up, when things were going bad, you know what they would do? They would put on an act at the Colosseum, put on a circus, and that circus or that act, right, would be there to get the people's minds off of what was happening in real life, right? So Vince is actually making a solid point. A lot of what we hear, what we see is major distractions to keep away from the real truth that you really need to be focused on. James says the former FBI director. That's right, James Comey. Thank you guys very much.
I have a great deal of hope for America. I think this is a very exciting moment. I think the fact that we're seeing people who speak out on behalf of their faith or who are willing to speak truth to power, and the fact that the people who support them are able to actually have a voice because of the technology, which obviously can be used for a lot of bad. But in the case of connecting like-minded people and getting our word out, that technology is a very powerful weapon in our hand. And also the young people in this country, the young men and the young women, plenty here in this room. I was kind of overwhelmed when I got here tonight, especially by the young folks that came up and wanted to shake my hand.
Put a 1 in the chat if you believe what he's saying and you're paying close attention and you think there's some credence to his message, or put a 2 if you think he's just a weak individual and you're not going to pay attention to him at all. 1 or 2, tell us how you feel. Your vote is very important.
And so I have a lot of hope for the next generation. I think as we head into this midterm season and just as this war advances in the next couple of weeks, I think, like you said in your open, the most important thing we can do is be on our knees and pray. But once we're up from our knees, we need to take action. Our leaders will hear us if we all speak out. We're at a critical juncture in the war in Iran. We need to let our leaders hear that we do not support this war. We do not think there's a vital national security interest.
Do you guys know what this means? This guy, as of 2 days ago, he had such a position leading counterterrorism in the United States. And he even said up until he resigned, he had all of the access to all of this information. He's coming forward to warn, in essence, the American people, the world, that this war is wrong. This is crazy. What does this mean for this guy? Well, we don't know, but definitely we will be covering it here at Watching the World. It don't look good, folks.
We want to bring our troops home. We want to work towards peace in that region. We do not want 20 plus more years of bloodletting. And then as we head into this next election cycle, demand from everyone, from every political party, go to them, go to your...
Okay, guys, Pretty Ting says, I trust anyone that has enough sense to speak up against the Trump administration. Thank you, Pretty Tings. Thank you. I really do appreciate you're such a strong supporter. Pretty Tings also says, I do not trust Trump administration at all under no circumstance. Good googly moogly. My goodness. Okay. Cynthia says he is weak. Okay. Talking about Joe Kent. A lot of people were saying that yesterday as we went through and heard the interview that he did with Tucker Carlson. You should go back and check it out. I think it was a great interview to understand different things in regards to the government, things that we probably would have never heard and probably should have never heard. But that's just my opinion. Okay, but hey, I'm very thankful for it. It was eye-opening to me. Dana says, I do not support Israel or their war, nor do I support PDFs in politics. Oh my, what a strong statement. Thank you. And thanks for subscribing to the channel. Thank you guys for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Also, turn on your notifications so you know every time that we go live. Okay, AI Hall says he will never work again in Hollywood. Okay, James, one of our attorneys on deck, says he was a PMO, the best secret unit in the CIA. Wow, isn't that something? Okay, and we also have Reek says, why is this war and not Russia and Ukraine? Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. Dana says, thank you for all you do. Okay, thank you. Let's get back to it. So we're going to keep an eye on Joe Kent. I will definitely be breaking down pretty much everything coming out of this guy because I think it's important. I think it's a unique time where we get a chance to learn things about the government and how the inner workings that we probably would never know. But, you know, it's something. What was the last person? Let's see. Let's do a lesson on history today. Who was the last person? Now, keep in mind, he's saying that your government is lying to you. This guy worked for the government. He came out and said, listen, they're lying to you. I don't know how he could have a way forward by doing that. But who was the last guy that ended up in Russia because he was revealing top secrets and they were really coming after his neck? Let's see if we can figure out who I'm referring to. He released so much top secrets. It's amazing to this day. All right, so we're going to move on now. We have a news broadcast from one of our own team members here. Calvin Johnson was on the news this week in regards to Jasmine Crockett. You guys know what happened in regards to her security guard for quite some time. Well, he was unalived by the police. Isn't that shocking? And how did such an individual, which now they coin him as being such a crooked individual, right? How did he get so close to someone that potentially could have been a Congress senator member, right? How did that happen? Let's get to it. And we're going to have a chance to check out our own Calvin Johnson.
Fox 4 is learning more about the man shot and killed by Dallas police last week, who also works security for Congresswoman Jasmine.
Okay, great job. Dana says, Ed Snowden. Thank you for answering. You got it right. We have some history majors in here. Thank you very much. We have Victor. Victor says, exposing the truth and remember the warning, he's a strong guy. Okay, a strong guy. I always look forward to J Cat's comments. J Cat says, if Trump said our airstrikes obliterated Iran, why are we deploying ground troops? Great point. And that's a good point. We are sending more troops. I believe I saw we sent another 2,400 boots on the ground. What does this mean? This is what we want to know. Pretty Ting says, she and I attend the same church. Okay, so you go to church with Jasmine Crockett. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
Crockett. Damon Robinson, also known as Mike King, was shot and killed in a hospital parking garage after a standoff with police. He's accused of using a fake identity to be hired for security positions. So
you see how close he is to her? He's preserving, protecting her life, right? He ends up being the one that loses his life. We're actually going to get into the footage, right? The camera footage in a minute. I have to warn you guys ahead of time that it's quite revealing and quite shocking, but it has an element of violence, obviously, but we won't show that part. But just brace yourself for what we're going to see.
Going as far as helping real police officers with off-duty jobs. Fox 4's David Centendry has more from an attorney who once represented Robinson and David's life tonight with more on the story. David.
Hey, Steve, yeah, that attorney tells me that Robinson simply stopped showing up for court dates. He never really knew what happened to him until he saw his death and identity scandal.
So every Sunday at 7 p.m., I think Pretty Things is a big fan of Calvin Johnson. I also saw where James was happy to have Calvin Johnson as a colleague here on the channel. But Calvin Johnson, this individual that was securing or protecting Jasmine Crockett that lost his life, he was actually previously a client of Calvin Johnson. So you're going to see Calvin Johnson in this particular broadcast. He's going to explain this whole scenario. But keep in mind, we have Watching the World with some heavy hitters around here. Right, James?
Reported on the news.
And I was wondering whatever happened to him.
North Texans beyond surprised to learn a man working security for Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett under the name Mike King was not who he said he was. For many, his true identity only revealed
Get out! Keep your hands off! Stand up!
After he was shot and killed during a Dallas police SWAT standoff last week.
And I looked up and I said, oh my God, there's Damon.
Attorney Calvin Johnson had no idea the man he was.
Guys, put a globe in the chat for Calvin Johnson on the big screen.
Once represented in a fraud case, Damon Robinson later built a security career posing as a Mike King, working for Crockett and others.
He was a very smooth guy, very friendly. If you met him, you would not know that he had ever been in trouble, that he had ever been to prison. He seemed to be very accommodating, very nice, very smart, very well dressed.
One day, Robinson stopped showing up for scheduled court dates, according to Johnson.
I always wondered what happened to him.
Robinson's criminal history likely prevented him from starting a legit.
So look at all the mug shots. He's been through the ringer, yet he made it to the top to be able to be security for Jasmine Crockett.
Legitimate career in law enforcement or security. Dallas Police Department learned that for many years, Robinson took on the name Mike King, building a security services career and not.
I just want to add too, guys, I did some film work with Tasha K the other night. I actually thought we were going to go live. But when you see her release the produced show, make sure you put some globes in the chat for me. Thank you very much for the watchers from Watching the World. Let's represent over here. But you guys are going to love the interview that we did in regards to Sean Diddy Combs, as well as the guy named Garen James, who's actually going by an alias, but he was the owner of the company Cowboys for Angels, and you'll get a chance to learn all about that. But just keep that in mind.
Just working security, but building teams of security officers. A Texas Secretary of State document shows Mike King started a Frisco-based LLC, Off-Duty Police Services. It was registered on the social media app Roll Call, hiring officers to work off-duty freelance security gigs. That ultimately led down.
So basically, we had a guy that was a criminal, right? He was a criminal. We just saw all of the photos, right, of his history trail. Now he's in a position where he's hiring police officers. How is it that criminals are able to do such things? That's what the people want to know.
Dallas police to investigate Robinson after one of its own officers who worked a security gig for Mike King discovered King was actually Damon Robinson, a suspect in a stolen federal license plate case.
Don't do it!
Robinson also had an active theft warrant from 2017 and a parole violation. Officers were working to serve him a warrant in the parking garage of Children's Medical Center last week. Robinson.
Okay, guys, I just want to take a moment. Pretty Things, who is a part of the Watching the World team here says to Lisa, she says, I also live in Crockett's district. We attend a mega church, about 10,000 members. Wow, that's a lot. I would imagine that's something like a TD Jakes or Joel Osteen. But wow, they have churches with that many people. That's amazing.
And pointed a gun and was shot and killed by officers.
He is a person that can easily meld into any situation and adjust to everybody around him. So it does not surprise me that in this particular situation, he had started the company and actually had fooled or got past background checks to show that he could actually work with somebody like Jasmine Crockett.
So we have been sent.
So I just want you guys to understand, he was able to basically smother or hide his identity by actually opening up a corporation, and then the corporation that he basically started was able to get past the clearance of the government. Isn't that amazing, right? Sometimes people, when they have possessions, let's say like their home, in order to hide their identity, they'll put the home inside of an LLC, so you no longer get a chance to see who actually owns the home. So you see how these things work. It's amazing that he was able to outsmart the government. We want to know why.
Numerous tips about places this Mike King was working security at. A lot of these places are in the private sector, some major businesses, but again, because they're private, we're not really allowed to report these names because they are under no obligation to confirm or deny.
Pretty things. I would love to know what the local people like around the church and in the community, how they feel about this whole story, because most of us are looking in from the outside.
Any hiring of this person for security, but it is becoming quite clear that this was not an isolated incident just with Crockett's team, but he was working security all across North Texas.
Okay, so we're going to keep bringing this to you. Tomorrow we'll have Calvin Johnson on. We're actually going to talk about this more at a higher level. He's going to reveal some more information. We also look forward to the information from Pretty Things too. We hope you're around tomorrow. But we're going to look at his actual body cam footage now. And again, I want you guys to have a warning because it does go all the way left.
Hey, stop the car! Stop the car! Move your car! Move your car! Stop! Stop! Go!
I don't think he knows that.
All right, come on. Yeah. Hey, Sarge, he rolled through this light on us. We're continuing.
And just before we get into this, you often hear the phrase shell company, and our attorney on deck helps us understand that basically that's what this security company was a shell company. Thank you very much for giving us that insight. Okay, Stella says, yes, we would like to know why. Thank you for the sentiments. We have Caprello in the building. Shout out. He's a member, part of the Watching the World team. We don't have the exact same views, but we're in sync. We're in sync. That's the beautiful part, and that's the amazing part about Watching the World. You could be Republican, Democrat. You could identify as a mushroom, whatever you want to do. As long as we try to be respectful to each other, I feel like we can get a lot accomplished here. Thank you so much, Caprello, for all you do.
Continuing on. We'll stop when you want us to. We're back by the state.
I'll keep my lights on.
By the station. He's just rolling through these lights on us. You sure? You have your lights on, right?
Yeah.
So they're en route to Jasmine Crockett's security. We're actually following him. This is the security guard that lost his life, but this is going to show you how it all went down.
All right. Yeah, he's not stopping. We've hit him plenty of times. He is northbound on Market, crossing Jackson.
And keep in mind that this individual that's escaping, he used to be Calvin Johnson, our criminal defense attorney that's on every Sunday at 7 p.m. He used to be his client, and he got away owing him a few bucks he probably will never get.
He's just gonna keep going through. Yeah, no, he's.
Yeah, Sarge, he's not stopping. He's to Maine. Looks like he's going through Maine. He's going through a red light. Do we have any coverts with him? Negative. No, he's going through red lights now.
Now, I just want to tell you guys, I typically do not do this show on Saturdays, so YouTube is not pushing the video. So please hit the like button. Also, hit the hearts if you don't mind, so that we can get into the algorithm. Thank you.
He's shooting across. He got all the way in the right-hand lane. He crossed Jackson. I think he continued straight. Get me to the right. See if we can get eyes on him.
Now, guys, Pretty Things that actually goes to church with Jasmine Crockett, she makes a good point. She says, I hate that he was ever hired by Crockett. Not a good look. And Calvin mentioned that essentially, she hired him because she's trying to hire local individuals, help out the local man, but sent him through, the typical way you get approved, right, through the government. But going forward, it's not a good look for her, right?
I don't know if he made it right or not.
And again, folks, this gets out of pocket a little bit, so I just want to warn you, if it's too much for you, I don't want you to be shocked.
His head goes down. I'm sitting this round. Yep. I don't even know if he's got that gun on him.
We want you to feel peaceful. We want you to do what I ask you to do, and you won't get hurt. We don't want anybody to get hurt. It ain't working. That hurt. I know you're on.
I got it.
All I want you to do is let, hey.
And keep in mind, this happened about 10 days ago. If you look at the top of the screen, you'll see it happen on March the 11th. So this is a recent event.
Don't raise your voice. Don't do anything. And nothing will happen. Keep your hands up.
So they're trying to preserve his life. They say, put your hands up, come on out, and nothing will happen to you. It's almost like he wants this to happen, the way he moves forward.
Stand up, I'm sitting this round.
What's your first day, man? Mike? Okay, Mike. Come on, get out. Get out. Keep your hands up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Put your hands up. Don't reach. Don't do it. Don't do it.
So at this moment, right, this very moment when you see him grabbing a weapon, it's almost like he's making a decision. I mean, listen, he does security, so he knows how it goes down. There's a reason why he has a weapon. He's trying to protect Jasmine Crockett. So at this point, he chose between life and death. What was it in his life that drove him, took him to this moment? That's what we want to know. And this is how the story ended.
Come on.
So now we get a different angle. I guess they're showing different angles. I don't know if I want to keep showing the angles. I think we get the point here. So as they say, no need to keep at it. So I'm just going to keep moving. But you get an idea of how this all happened to Calvin Johnson's previous client, who went on, even though he was troubled and had a lot of run-ins with the law, he was able to protect one of the amazing people that we have now in politics, Jasmine Crockett. So something to keep in mind. Now we're going to get into this whole issue happening with Donald Trump and also the war in Iran. Let's check out what's happening. And as we watch all of this, I want you guys to think about it. I mean, James and I, we're in New York City. And being in New York, I mean, any place in America can be tough. I'm originally from Virginia. But I think in Virginia, it's a little different than New York. In New York, there has been a record of attacks. So every time I have to go down to the courthouse, I have to wonder, is there going to be some crazy event? And I know James feels the same way. So these things are affecting us. Also, we're going to get into gas prices. And also, we're going to look at it from the president's standpoint, too, because he says this is just an excursion, just a temporary thing. So we want to look at this from a broad scale, almost as though you rise up in a helicopter. We don't want to just have that little local view and be very hard line on different subjects. We try to get the bigger picture. Let's check this out.
All right, in less than an hour, the Pentagon is holding a news conference to bring us up to date on the latest on Operation Epic Fury.
Before we get started, I want to show you guys, because I try to give you guys the inside scoop. You know, I try to give you the backside. So you see how you guys hit the hearts, and we're up to 112 now. So it sent the video out to more people. So all of the likes and the hearts, the pressing, it definitely helps to go a long way. Thank you.
CENTCOM is releasing new video from the mission.
It comes as Iran retaliates after Israeli forces struck an Iranian gas field near Qatar.
And our chief foreign correspondent, Trey Yinks, joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest on the ground there. Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. A lot of developments on the energy front overnight after Israeli forces struck the South Pars gas field in southern Iran. This was a strike that, according to Israeli officials, was coordinated with the United States. But you can see here the aftermath of those strikes, black smoke rising from the horizon there near to the Strait of Hormuz. In response, the Iranians launched ballistic missiles toward the Ras Laffan facility in Qatar. This is the world's largest producer of liquefied natural gas. And Qatari officials released a statement just about 9 hours ago saying the civil defense has fully contained 2 out of the 3 fires in the Ras Laffan industrial area, with no injuries reported. Cooling and securing operations at the sites are ongoing, while the explosives group of the Internal Security Force is carrying out.
Okay, guys, I want to pause here for a second. Uncommon Woman made a good point. She says, was he under the influence? You know, that's a good question. You know, perhaps the police will expound on that, but it would help you to understand why he may have chosen to go that route. Thank you, Uncommon, for that detective way of thinking.
Its tasks in handling any hazardous elements. Now, President Trump overnight took to Truth Social to say, in part, quote, Israel, out of anger for what has taken place in the Middle East, has violently lashed out at a major facility known as South Pars gas field in Iran. And so, again, a little bit of disconnect.
So Israel is definitely doing some things that are aggressive. In fact, the president of the United States, I try to track everything he says and does, but he actually reprimanded Israel for taking this strike almost without the consent of the president of the United States, because do you guys know how Israel returned? Well, they struck the oil fields of 3 other countries, so this could get out of pocket. Getting back briefly in regards to Jasmine Crockett's security guard that we just covered, I want to get Crazy Karen's expression. Karen says, no, he didn't go through the normal hire procedure for government work. I worked for the federal government for 20 years as basically a glorified secretary, and even I had to get fingerprinted and photographed. So thank you, Crazy Karen, for giving us an inside view of what it's like to work for the government. All of it helps us to understand the big picture. Thank you.
Connect between the Americans and the Israelis as to what led to these initial strikes that caused the Iranian retaliation against energy infrastructure. The Iranians are still launching attacks against Gulf countries and U.S. ally Israel. You can see overnight there were a number of cluster munitions fired toward this country, 7 separate barrages.
Imagine all this barrage of ammunition coming down on your head. It's got to be terrifying. Real 25, I want to just cover this. This is still dealing with the previous story here. Reek says it's hard to blame Crockett and her team, especially if they went through the proper channels to verify an employee or contractor. It seems like the government missed some steps. Okay, thank you for that expression. We have Sharon in the building. Sharon, it's always good to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Uncommon Woman says, New York, New York, the Big Apple. Yes, indeed.
Since midnight have triggered air raid sirens across Israel. In the West Bank, 3 Palestinian women were killed. They were in a salon at the time when part of an Iranian ballistic missile slammed into this area. Another person was killed in central Israel. We know a foreign worker. Now, a spokesperson for the Israeli military, Brigadier General Effie Defrin, spoke about the ongoing efforts to shoot down this incoming fire.
We have air defense systems. I can already say they are among the best in the world. This is proven. Unfortunately, the defense is not airtight. We use our systems to intercept these missiles. These cluster missiles are a war crime if this terrorist regime targets them at population centers. There is no difference from a regular missile except for its dispersion.
We do know that as the Israelis are coming under more fire, some of these missiles are actually being intercepted over the city of Jerusalem. Shrapnel rained down earlier this week near to the church.
Well, you know, Jerusalem, according to the Bible, is the Holy Land, so they have to protect that at all costs, especially with some of the monumental sites they have there that date back to the Messiah and so forth, and all of the Bible prophecies. Lisa Page says Netanyahu is out. You know, he came out with a video stating that there's so many rumors, but that he is alive. But a lot of people are pointing out that the video could be AI because in one video, his hand is not moving properly. They're trying to say a finger disappears. That's the issue that we have nowadays. It's hard to decipher truth from, you know, AI, make believe, what is really happening. James says, I'm sure the ME did a tax screen. It's mandatory. Okay, thank you for that background information. Nice to have an attorney on deck. All right, 23 Meanie says propaganda incoming. Okay, thank you very much.
To the Holy Sepulchre. Israeli police say they have closed all of the holy sites in Jerusalem as this war continues and over concern that the ballistic missile fire will continue to target the population here. Guys?
Trey, can you tell us why the Israelis...
Before we get to that, James is saying this is costing us $5 billion a day. And guess what, guys? I travel a lot. Even when I was out in Tucson, Arizona, there's so many homeless people everywhere. I mean, I don't understand it. I was not expecting, you know, in New York, I've become accustomed to all the homeless people. It's become a part. You know, we had 13 homeless people freeze. Yeah, this winter, because they tried to tie it to the new mayor and maybe not being experienced enough to, you know, navigate through the homeless population. But when I went out there, even when I went out to Costa Rica, I've been to every place I go. There's just so many homeless people. But when I see it here in the United States, and we're spending $5 billion a day on a war, can you just imagine that? What that money could be used for?
I mean, every target, there's a purpose behind that. So what is their stated purpose for targeting those facilities, those gas facilities?
The short answer is we can't really get into the mindset of the Israelis or the Americans when it comes to specific targets that are hit when it relates to energy infrastructure. And throughout the day, you're going to hear a lot of back and forth between American and Israeli officials as to who ordered this strike and who was actually looped in. What we do know is that the South Pars gas field accounts for 10% of the world's natural gas reserve. And this is significant because when a gas...
Okay, guys, we have all the detectives in the chat. The chat is so amazing here watching the world. But Ellie says in one video talking about Netanyahu, says in one video he has 3 arms, a wedding ring on, and then a split second later in another video. So people are really dissecting videos about Netanyahu because they believe the rumors.
Field is struck, there is a ripple effect across the global energy economy. And when we look at this particular gas field, it is actually connected. It's shared. It's split in half. Qatar runs half of it, and the Iranians run the other half. And that was why you heard yesterday Qatari officials speaking out over concern about a rapid escalation ladder across the region, because the Iranians are now not just responding against Qatar's energy infrastructure, but they're also targeting Kuwait. They're targeting the UAE and Bahrain. And the concern for these Gulf countries is...
And I don't want to get it twisted. I want to make it very clear. When we talk about Iran, we cannot act like these people do not chant death to America. Do not get it twisted, folks. And money saving and all of that is no good if we were somehow nuked someday, right? That's just how it goes. So we have to have some sort of balance and intelligence when looking at situations. It's never good to just look at one side and try to make a finite decision about it. So we want to be balanced and try to understand the entire picture, not necessarily trying to understand everything through the lens of, oh, I'm a Democrat today, so I have to believe this way, or I can no longer be a part of the group, or I'm MAGA, or I'm a Republican, so now I'm looking through this lens. We want to use the lens of common sense and intelligence in trying to navigate life, not just for our lives, but even for generations to come. It's very important.
That if they come under more attack, they will have to keep some of these facilities closed, and it will affect global energy prices. Now, we should note this is also connected to the Strait of Hormuz, and concern that the Iranians will continue to try and fire on vessels there. There are a variety of...
Real Hillbilly says, can't teach a man to fish if he's unwilling. Handouts don't work. That's why we don't feed the bears. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for subscribing. Real Hillbilly, appreciate your comments. Lisa says, it's a con for Trump's family to get richer. Kushner, in my opinion. I hear that a lot from where I sit, and thank you, Lisa, for all you do. You're so valuable to us. Thank you.
Options for the Trump administration to secure the strait, but this is, again, escalating in the region because the Iranians are so unpredictable in what they're willing to target. We also heard Gulf countries today meeting and saying the Iranians...
Okay, guys, Vince is really getting to it. Vince says they will never use the money on Americans. When you figure out they want us dead, it will all come to light. Oh, my. Thank you for your comment. James says, on 5th Avenue after 10 p.m., it's cardboard boxes all along the avenue and side streets. Absolutely. I see it a lot. And you have to think about it. Imagine if you're out there on the street. When I cover the court cases at the federal courthouse in New York City, I've observed a lady that in the morning she appears, like when I'm coming through to go to court, I've observed her putting on a nice suit like she works in an office, but she actually lives in a tent. And I just wonder, like, what brought her to that situation in life? But a lot of times people are just trying to position themselves so they don't even get robbed or something even worse in the middle of the night when they're trying to sleep out on the street because they can't even afford life. What is going on, folks? We just have to ask these questions.
Must stop their fire, and they're actually considering offensive action against the Iranian regime.
All right, so Trey, when we woke up this morning and we're learning about the South Pars gas field, we did our research and we're really diving into why this is so significant for the rest of the world.
Okay, guys, Jay Cat says, why do people even complain about proper vetting of individuals when a 32-time felon is president? Oh, my. Good question. Thank you. Thank you. 23 Meanie says, we don't have oil. Well, not much. Thank you.
So Israel strikes the South Par gas field, and that's located in Iran, but they also share a part of that with Qatar. So then Iran fights back, and they attack this major energy facility, or several of them, in the Gulf neighboring state.
You would have to be a fool to think the gas prices are not going to go up after all of this explosions, one after the other, right? And all of the action and what it's costing the United States, somebody's paying for it. Who's paying for it? Take a wild guess who's paying for all of this, right? All of the chaos that typically stems, I guarantee you, from a holy book. I guarantee you most of this is stemming from who gets to own the Holy Land. And here you have your 18-year-old, 19-year-old. I have a relative that's been sent out to Germany, don't have a clue why they're out there, but potentially might have to go on the battlefield. This is devastating, to say the least.
States. It caused higher gas prices. It caused President Trump to write this on Truth Social. No more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field unless Iran unwisely decides.
Okay, guys. James says people shouldn't be homeless here in America. They need affordable housing. And guys, I just want you to know I'm here for it today. So typically I push right through the show during the week because I know everybody's busy. Today I'm here for it. We're going to go through the comments. We're going to take our time. It is what it is, folks. It's Saturday, and I'm enjoying myself kicking it with you guys, right? Remember that old song, I Don't Mind Kicking It With You? Who wrote that song? I Don't Mind Kicking It With You. That was back in around 98, probably.
To attack a very innocent, in this case, Qatar, in which instance the United States of America, with or without the help or consent of Israel, will massively blow up the entirety of the South Pars gas field at an amount of strength and power that Iran has never seen or witnessed before. We're learning also this is the world's largest natural gas reserve, Iran's biggest source of domestic energy supply, Trey, which means that's how they heat their homes. That's where they get their electricity.
So imagine Israel came in and dropped the explosives here, and that alone is very troubling, right? Because of how it would affect the world scene, considering all we know with the history. But what did Iran do? Well, they went and they started hitting all of these other countries that particularly are not tied into the war, right? And keep in mind when the president of the United States, along with Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, or whatever his name is, when they made that deal, Iran was not in that deal for the Abraham Accords, right? So this is playing out. It's getting to be out of hand. Pretty Ting says, what is the end game for this war? We don't know, but we started off this show talking about Joe Kent, and Joe Kent was the leader in the counter-terrorism, and now he's saying that this war was a fluke and we should never be in this war. This is someone that was heading up a lot of these operations and fighting against terrorism. It's so confusing trying to navigate when you see all of these type of things materialize. 23 Meanie says you are creating more enemies, man. How is that? You have to explain that one. That came out of left field. I'm not sure who it's directed to. Okay, Lisa says Iranians will always hate Americans. Okay, this has been over a 47-year trek we've been on. So I guess everything has to come to a head, as they say, right? Sharon, nice to see you here. Thank you for being here. Lisa says Americans can be hateful too. All right, that's so true, so true.
And the entire gas field contains an estimated 1,800 trillion cubic feet of usable gas, which is enough to supply the world's needs for 13 years. So if we came to a point where we had to blow up this entire thing, what would that mean for the rest of the world?
It would mean decades of efforts to try and recover.
Hey, welcome in, Bobby. Thanks for being here. And thanks for subscribing to Watching the World 777. I look forward to getting to know you. Sassy Mo says Americans have been bullies for decades. They complain about people coming to the U.S. The solution, stop bombing their countries. All right. Thank you. And good to see you, Sassy Mo. You're always around. I like that. Real Hillbilly says homeless people have access to money, but they can't manage it wisely. Good point. Thank you.
This gas field to use it again. We're looking again at a very serious escalation ladder in the Middle East, and we have to view the battlefield as it is. The reality is the United States and Israel are decimating the Iranian regime. They've taken out much.
Okay, let's address Elwood. He says, did you just say good question? Not bright are you, guy? Okay, so Elwood, tell us in the comments, what defines a bad question? What makes it wrong to ask a question? Could you please break it down since you wanted to go there? Let's go.
Much of its Navy. They are going after these ballistic missile launching positions. They have systematically killed off Iranian leaders. But Iran still poses a threat to the Middle East. It still poses a threat to Gulf countries. And they still have...
J-Cat says, what happened to all the oil we stole from Venezuela? All right, thank you.
Have missiles, drones, cruise missiles, and mines in their arsenal that can be used. And again, we've talked with Israeli officials who say they expect this to continue for at least a few more weeks, if not more. And so there are very serious decisions that will have to be made by President Trump, the U.S. administration, and the Israelis as to what types of targets they are going to hit and what the effect of those targetings will be on the entire world, the energy economy, and the reality for the Iranians, which is that they are a country that we know is incredibly unpredictable. They are willing, oftentimes, to fire on residential and
Guys, Pretty Things is bringing up a question. I was wondering the other day, I was trying to fall asleep. She says, I wonder what Elon Musk has to say about the gas prices. I said, Elon Musk is solving a lot of problems for the world. I wonder why they don't have him, or maybe he is. But I would love to know what would be his thoughts on the war and strategy. I mean, he is really good at technology. Also thought about that when it came to Nancy Guthrie. What type of technology does a guy like Elon Musk have that would probably help solve the situation? But thank you, Pretty Things. Poster says only Israel. Okay, Lisa says, what will 150 million do to a kid's brain? Okay, thank you guys for all these comments. Bobby says, Bush family partners with Saudi government oil business. Okay, thanks for the insight. Lisa says, while American kids go hungry. And that's what we were talking about earlier. All of this, billions of dollars a day, and we have people struggling in our country, right? Something to think about. We're going to move on and talk about the deployment of troops in the Middle East, a very important subject, especially when we hear the draft word. People get really nervous, especially if you have children, right? Makes sense.
And we begin with the latest on Operation Epic Fury. CENTCOM releasing before and after images, those are the afters right there, of an Iranian missile facility that was completely destroyed. You see it on the bottom of your screen by U.S. strikes.
Yep, we got to keep doing that so there's no more rockets into the Gulf states. Yeah, that look brand new, not anymore. This comes as President Trump reveals he's not planning to put boots on the ground in Iran, even though Marines are going to be there any day.
That's right. Lucas Thomason joins us live in Dubai with the details. Good morning, Lucas.
Good morning, LJ. Overnight here in the UAE, authorities say they dismantled an Iranian-funded terrorist cell. Keep in mind, over 500,000 Iranians live here in the Emirates, including some escorts, and the Pentagon announcing it is now deploying the venerable A-10 Warthog attack aircraft. That's not just a 50-year-old plane. It's something beloved by ground troops, firing nearly 4,000 rounds a minute of highly depleted uranium, probably the only uranium that the Trump administration wants to see in Iran, attacking the small boats associated with Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. Age-64 Apache gunships also getting in on the action off the southern coast of Iran and the Persian Gulf. President Trump providing this battle update brief from the Oval Office yesterday.
We've obliterated their Navy. We've obliterated just about everything there is to obliterate, including leadership. Their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft equipment is gone. We're flying wherever we want, Pete. We have nobody even shooting at us. Their leaders are gone.
We're going to give a welcome to Country Carpenter, one of our great supporters here. Thank you.
They picked new leaders, they're gone. They picked new leaders, they're gone. And now they're looking for new leaders again.
Now, one more on the A-10, guys. The Air Force has been trying to scrap this aircraft for years, including in June, but Congress just said it must stay around. Now, despite more than
James says $200 billion to further fund the war. This is an Israel war. There was no threat. Okay, a lot of people feel that way. Thank you.
7,000 American airstrikes on Iran, a country more than twice the size of Texas. Attacks on energy facilities continue throughout the Middle East. Early this morning, multiple Iranian drones hitting a Kuwaiti oil refinery, causing a partial shutdown. Drone attacks on Saudi Arabia continue, as well as here in the Emirates. Yesterday, Iran launching an attack on the largest gas field in the world off the coast of Qatar, causing $20 billion in damage, knocking 17% offline. Repairs expected to last up to 5 years. Iran Iran claiming it retaliated for an Israeli strike on that same gas field it shares with Qatar, just to the north on the map. And CENTCOM also providing some new drone imagery showing an Iranian ballistic missile factory destroyed after U.S. jets bombed it. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims Iran has no ability to enrich uranium, and President Trump said,
Guys, Stick makes a great comment, says, that's like being in a fight with someone and attacking everyone else for watching, right? Exactly. That's what's happening when Israel struck Iran and they started striking everybody else in the surrounding area. Great comment. Thank you.
Says there will be no American boots on the ground in Iran. Now, here in the Emirates, air defenses have been active today. Iran has fired more than 2,000 ballistic missiles and drones here at this country. That's more than twice the number that it's launched at Israel, guys.
All right, so far today, Lucas, has there been any strikes in the UAE where you are?
Yes, there's been a handful of ballistic missiles and about 20 drones fired this way. The Emiratis said they knocked it all out.
Hey, welcome to you, Debbie. Thanks for the continued support. You're amazing.
The sky. Emiratis are also saying they'd like to re-up the American air defense, and they're buying a $5 billion THAAD battery to help with those intercepts going forward.
That's industry standard.
Stella says, like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications to be notified for upcoming shows. Guys, I want you to keep in mind, on Monday, I'm going to Massachusetts to cover this case. I'm going to cover the case in a few minutes at the end of this show. We're going to understand the history of the case. Her name is Kelsey Fitzsimmons. It's an interesting case. I will be boots on the ground, so stick around if you really want to follow me. I'm going to be live streaming this case starting Monday.
Thanks so much, Lucas. So the president's son is 44 years old. The president of Iran's son is 44 years old, and he's keeping a journal about what's happening. And essentially, he says it's being run right now by the country by the IRGC. That other guy, the Ayatollah's son, nowhere to be found. They say the one thing that's got all the leaders that are remaining are panicked and hiding because of the targeted killing. And he says unless the targeted killing can stop, Iran will lose the war. So Israel, stay at it. And we should stay at it because they don't have endless depth. And the lower you get, you have people with absolutely no experience. But it's the IRGC that's now full.
Okay, let's see what Deborah had to say. Deborah says, I'm blown away by how stupid 30% of Americans are. They have no idea what's going on. This war was going to happen one way or the other. That's a good point, too, because Iran is definitely not going to let up. So, hey, listen, there's some truth on both sides. I do not take away from that. Thank you very much, Deborah, for articulating that great point. Irwin says it's going to continue for years. Okay, the president says this is just an excursion and that the market is coming right back. Man, I hope it is true that it's just an excursion because the stock market is going down. Prices are going up, especially with gas. So hopefully the president will keep this and hold it in the road. This is what we are definitely hoping. Guys, hit the like button. The minute you guys hit the hearts, you see how we're up to 500 plus people because this is not a typical day that I go live, but I want to start doing Saturdays at noon too when I can and not traveling. Last weekend, I was with Tasha K for her birthday. She's been very supportive of this channel. I want to support her too. Despite all of the negative naysayers and all of that, we try to stick with the facts. Thank you.
In charge.
I've said consistently from the very beginning, I said, I don't want a negotiation. We've tried negotiation. They have an ideology.
Now, the world gone says, and I think that's gone B, meaning gone bad. He says the person says Fox News will make you believe that we are winning. All right. Thank you for your comment. There's truth to that. James says Cuba is next. Trump is a liar. I think Cuba is already on the table. I think we have it sold up, but they just haven't told us that yet.
Has to be completely destroyed and then allow the people to select whatever leader is going to be. But it can't be anyone a part of this institution because they'll wait it out.
Yep.
And some people complain that we cover CNN news here, Fox News. I might pull news from under an old basket from 1921 if I feel like it. Listen, we cover just about anything because I don't think the average watching the world watcher is narrow-minded. I think we understand we have a system in place where we're just looking at all sorts of things, but we come to our own conclusions, and it's very unbiased. So don't get too upset when I cover Fox or CNN or what have you. Now, Reek says, and to add, Venezuela was about rugs, Trump said, but most of the rugs come from Mexican cartels. Now, Reek, I just want to tell you that I went to Maduro's trial. I sat behind him when he walked into the courtroom. He said, Happy New Year 4 times to 4 of us sitting side by side, okay? That's how close I was sitting behind him. I'll be in court again this week with Maduro and also his wife. Now, I want to break this down because you brought it up and we have time today. In court, in which I knew, it's kind of like with Don Lemon, the first charge they hit you with, even with Sean Diddy Combs, they hit him with that RICO because it's sort of like carbon monoxide. It's there and you don't even know what's taking you out. It encompasses so much you can barely fight it. So the number one charge they hit Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, with was conspiracy, just like they hit Don Lemon with. It's hard to fight that. What does it mean? You know, you conspired with some people. So now it encompasses what they do. Now we have James in the audience who is a attorney. He could break it down much better. But the idea is the other 4 charges that Maduro received, I was there. I heard the court and the judge break it down. It particularly pushed toward the C word, the rug that starts with the C, right? Like Coca-Cola will say, we'll call it, so you get my drift, okay? All right. And also they talked about the dangerous weapons. So you're right. They really hit Maduro, but I think Maduro is a part of a bigger plan. Mexico, even though the same issue and they're closer, it's not in line with the particular plan of the administration. Maduro has the oil, so we call it as we see it. And the other verbiage that we hear is just to push the narrative so the American people would be acceptive. Because when the judge, I stood there, I don't know Spanish, there's an interpreter in the courtroom. When the judge asked Maduro and said, hey, are you guilty or not guilty? Always in court, you're supposed to answer guilty or not guilty. He went on a whole tangent about describing something which had to be interpreted, so the judge didn't know. But what he started to say is, I was sitting in my home on Saturday night, and he gave the date, and he said the United States government came in and they kidnapped me. He said that about 3 or 4 times during the session. So you start to understand what I'm trying to tell you here, is that even Maduro knows that this is much bigger than probably anything we could understand. And it's about resources. But if you go back in history, especially through education, what did most countries do? How do you think we end up in America? Right? Right? A lot of that has to do with what? Resources, right? They tell you we're dropping a explosive in Africa because they're Christians and stop beating the Christians, when Christians are being persecuted just about everywhere. But then the president of the United States came back and said, oh, we're going to get rich off of Africa because they have so much, and he named the resource. So we start to understand the bigger picture. We're not here to call it right or wrong. I'll leave that up to you. But no doubt about it, we see what's happening. If you have resources right now, and if you don't have a large army, you might just be cooked. That's just how it goes. And this is not something new. If you look at the Roman Empire, and again, I went and studied Rome and I was out there for some time. The Roman Empire had the same method, right? That's why they call it the empire. But we won't get into all that. But thank you, Reek, for sending me on this whole wave. Thank you.
And they'll begin that ideology all over again.
Well, remember the female soccer team arrived back home in Iran on Wednesday, and many of them were so intimidated, they decided not to stay in Australia. They went back home. They were threatening their family members, taking some of their family members. Then on Thursday, Iran and the regime They were hanging, public hangings in like the town square of these three young boys. One of them, 19-year-old famous wrestler. He's like the best wrestler in Iran. And they hanged him yesterday. He's 19 years old because he participated in the protest. They're doing this to intimidate and to send a signal and a message because they're trying.
Thank you, Victoria. Victoria says, these are all diversions. What a great way to put it. I think that sums up everything that I said in a few words. Thank you.
No, they know it's a matter of time. If they're all killed, then the citizens will come out of their houses and they will overrun the government. And that's not what they want.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.
Steve, I would love to have you point out or break it down. What's misleading? What's being exaggerated? Would love to have you break it down. Obviously, you're new here. You're welcome, but I would love to hear you break it down specifically because just saying that little statement doesn't help us understand. But thank you very much for whatever you're saying. Now we're going to move on. The Democrats are not happy. They're furious about Pam Bondy. And you know the Democrats, when they get upset, you're going to hear about it. And that's what we're going to do right now.
Fired up members of the Democratic on the House Oversight Committee are speaking now after listening to Attorney General Bondy talking about the Epstein files. Let's listen in.
To our lawful subpoena.
Guys, hit the like button, share, subscribe, but also hit those hearts. We fell off on the hearts. Whenever my head is down, that's typically what I'm doing, hitting the hearts. I can't do it all, folks. Thank you very much, though. I appreciate it.
In a deposition. So instead, I asked Chairman Comer if he would compel her to come to our deposition. If she did not come, would he force her to, or if he would move for contempt hearings as he did for other people who did not respond to our subpoena? Instead of answering as an adult, he said that I was bitching, which is, again, something that would not be allowed if we were operating under the rules of this committee, because engaging in personalities is actually something that we are not able to do. If C-SPAN and the public were there, I'd imagine that he would not act that way.
I want to say thank you to Chance. Welcome, man. First time I'm seeing your name. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Nice to have you. Chance says 99% of Americans don't support these ritual wars. The petrodollar is screwed. Thank you very much for that. Victoria says they're all in it together. Years ago, Vance put Trump down. Now they're together. Come on, people, wake up. Okay. Now she says wake up. That's what happened with Joe Kent. It looks like he woke up and he's coming forward to tell a different story. He has a different narrative about this war, and that basically America, he's trying to say, is in the hands of Israel. In fact, Netanyahu, in this speech that he gave to show that he's still alive, he actually talks about this. I'm going to play that later on today. But he says, oh, people said that I'm deceased, I'm alive. People are saying that this war is Israel's war and not America, and that Trump is being led by Israel. He says, Donald Trump, I've known him a long time. You can't push Donald Trump around. So this is something that obviously is being said so much that Netanyahu had to give a response to it at a high level. So at any rate, we try to cover it all here. We have Wine says the world isn't clear on anything. Exactly. Thank you.
Neither here nor there. We expected AG Bondy to be adversarial. We expected her to be confrontational. And we expected her to not offer us much information. But that's why I introduced impeachment articles, because she has already been obstructing justice. She has already weaponized the DOJ. She has already ended investigations into Trump and his allies. She has used this role essentially as one to help the president. She does not answer to the president. The DOJ does not have the right or the privilege of withholding information from an active investigation, ignoring the laws of our land, which the Epstein Transparency Act is, with our subpoena from last July is. And the oversight Dems will continue to press for accountability. We'll continue to press for justice for survivors while also keeping them centered in this. So at the end of the day, we are still here seeking answers for women, for girls, and for the American public who has demanded justice, who have demanded answers to this. And
I don't want you guys to be offended by what I'm going to say now, but it's the truth, at least in my opinion, only my opinion. Donald Trump is playing a different type of game. He's playing a winner's game. a very proactive type of game where they're winning. Then he's helping other individuals win. And I showed you guys the other night that once Donald Trump wins, there are already groups and teams of people trying to win the next election. A lot of times we're seeing the Democrats having these type of press conferences where they're complaining and upset about what's happening. That's going to have to change because that's more of a reactive type of game where you're responding. Notice what she's saying. Oh, we're going to impeach. So that's after the person is installed, right? We hear all of these things happening, but it's after the fact. They're going to have to switch it up. And one of the key ways, if the Democrats want to win, they have to work on the message. One thing about Trump that I've learned, whether you like Trump or not, he figures out what the people want, and then he starts to promise, right? Whether it's whatever it is, this is what he does. Then when he gets in office the first week, guess what he starts doing? Checking those boxes. And he sat there, even though those executive orders may not see the light of day, the symbolism of what he did is now these people that you promised, if you vote for me, I'll set you free. This is what he did. So for 2 whole weeks, he sat at his desk. Oh, we're going to get rid of that DEI. Boop. See, he's checking off boxes. Now these people are committed to Trump till death do us apart. And that's what the Democrat Party is going to have to figure out to change their message, right? And then deliver on the message. Because what happened with Joe Biden, unfortunately, with a lot of the key factors, I heard people saying, oh, everybody got confused about the student and the college debt. And then guess what the final answer was? Well, we couldn't do it because of Congress. See what I'm saying? But that shows weakness. So I think in order for the Democrats to be able to come back strong. Now, during the midterm elections, is there a possibility? Well, it's a strong possibility, but I do think that these type of press conferences are a bad look. Let's get back to it.
Whether or not they will pretend that the documents that they've given us is enough, we already know that they have not complied. And we are asking other people to make sure that we do not let them off the hook right now. So we look forward to her on the record deposition with our committee in response to our lawful subpoena.
I'll say a few more things, and I'm going to open up for questions, and if anyone wants to answer the questions. So just as a review, I think it's very important.
Now, when I covered the Clinton's deposition, this fellow was there. Quite a few of these members were there. I was standing right there by him. And again, it's the same type of signals, right? And guess what they said would be the first order of business if they win the midterm elections is to impeach Trump, right? Remember the guy that just beat Jasmine Crockett? A lot of people, and I try to watch a lot of different things, but they said the reason why he won is because he didn't talk about Trump, but he started talking about different measures he would take to make changes for people, because most people, they want to know, what are you going to do for me? Just like children, right? They want to know, what can you do for me? And once you can articulate what you're going to do, and then when you win, the first thing you do is you check those boxes. I think you'll have those people till kingdom come.
This fake hearing, we found out about it yesterday with no time to prepare, with no format given to us. We had no idea what the even format was going to be until just an hour or two before this kind of fake hearing that was set up. And it was clear from the minute it started that the Attorney General is trying to evade and not attend the mandated subpoena that is put in place. We asked her that question. Multiple members asked her the question. She would not respond. She said she'll continue to follow the law. That is not a response. She has a subpoena in.
Now, let me tell you, you know how you could win and beat in this type of scenario about Pam Bondy? This is how you beat her. You never allow her to get the position in the first place. And how do you do that? You beat Donald Trump at the polls. That's real simple, right? All of this is reaction, because you couldn't beat Trump. And that's a whole different discussion as to why they lost. But I broke it down this week, putting Joe Biden up there, letting him fall apart on that debate is a key reason why we're in these type of situations. But that all goes back to who they chose to represent. It's not here. All this complaining just signals to the average American, like, what are we doing?
place by Chairman Comer. If there's any questions, I'll take those now.
Sir, aside from the questions about the deposition, which I gather was one of your major focuses, what else have you guys been asking her about? What else has the conversation in the room been about? Because I know you all said you had a lot of questions.
I'm going to let Congressman Lynch.
Yeah. And I support everything that's been said by my colleagues. Remember, our desire to get the Attorney General and Todd Blanche under oath is because we've been faced with lies from the very beginning. Go back to February 21st, 2025. Pam Bondy told us and told the public that the files, the Epstein file client list was on her desk. But then we found out that was a lie. Then she told us that on July.
I mean, what he's saying is the truth. There's no doubt about it, right? They went back and forth. The files were on my desk. And then we found out it's 3 million, 6 million files. How could they all be on your desk? But it's all just the smoke and mirrors, right? But the key to this is you have to run a better ground game than what's happening. Victoria says, thank you for looking outside of your box and taking all different views and opinions. We need this. Yes, indeed. And you know what's beautiful, Victoria? Thank you for subscribing. But the nice part is we can come in together, Republicans, Democrats, or independents like myself, have these type of discussions. And it helps you because you're not in your echo chamber where little old Billy over here, he's agreeing with everything you say. And Tom over there is over there spewing hate and you gravitate to his hate. But when we get everybody in to have our discussions, in some way, we grow because it's like heat and it's a crucible that helps all of us become better because we're hearing other ideas. It's kind of like when you grow up in school and you wear some crazy bell bottoms and the students say, oh my God, you got on bell bottoms. A lot of us don't wear bell bottoms again. So that type of activity, although it's pressing, oftentimes it helps us as individuals to be better.
July 25th, 2025, she said, there's no need for any more disclosure on any of these Epstein files. Then we found out later there's 6 million documents. They give us 3 million of those, and now we find that we can't get access to a lot of that information because it's so heavily redacted. And then finally, with much pressure from the court.
We're going to take a quick break from covering that press conference to bring in Democratic Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury of New Mexico, who serves on the House Oversight Committee. So, Congresswoman, your fellow Democrats seem pretty fired up. What happened behind closed doors?
Yeah, well, I just walked out of the briefing room, and what is absolutely clear is that Pam Bondy has no intention of complying with the law and the subpoena that we've issued for her to be deposed under oath in front of the committee. In fact, what appears to have happened is that she and Todd Blanche volunteered to come brief the committee, and so we walked in today ready to hear information that they would provide to us about what's going on with the Epstein File Transparency Act, and basically they said, we've released what we're going to release. And now you
Thank you, Country Carpenter. Thanks for all you do.
can ask me questions. And there was no oath. There were no cameras. The American public were locked out of the room. And it was clear that they were not prepared to answer questions about compliance with the law. And so ultimately, after Chairman Comer insulted Summer Lee, who is the lead in many ways on the subpoena, both of Pam Bondy and the subpoena of the Epstein files, and basically was extraordinarily disrespectful towards her, the Democrat.
Guys, it's important to pay attention to what Victoria is saying. She says, I believe they are both so hateful to each other. And once again, it's just diverting your attention. So true. Two wings on the same bird. And once we figure it out, we're all headed to the same destination. Sometimes when we're in a war-driven community, society, that place seems like hell. But once we understand how that all works, we're less likely to hate each other. Then we try to focus more on the bird, realizing that we're just a segment of the wings.
Democrats walked out of the room because we're not going to play their games.
So just to be clear, the Transparency Act about the Epstein files, that required all of the files to be released by, I think it was in December. Mm-hmm. And there's something like 6 million of them. About 3 million have been released, 3 million have not. Of the 3 million that were released, the only thing that was supposed to be redacted was the names and identifying information of survivors. But it is clear that a lot of stuff that was redacted that wasn't pertaining to the survivors was pertaining to the potential perpetrators and survivor.
Let's take a moment. We have almost 500 people here. Let's do a test. Put a 1 in the chat, okay? And we're just going to use Donald Trump and Joe Biden as an example. Let's say, for instance, we're going to use this particular action. We're going to use Iran as the predator in this case, right? Let's say they're coming after America full steam ahead. Put a 1 in the chat if you would prefer Donald Trump to be the president under those circumstances, right? Or put a 2 if you would rather have Joe Biden. Okay? So 1 for Trump, 2 for Joe Biden. Let's get an idea of what the people think.
Information was actually accidentally included. So they are not in compliance with the law, according to, as I understand the law. Is that right?
Absolutely. And not only are they not in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act, they are not in compliance with a subpoena of the Epstein files. In fact, it's important to remember that going all the way back to August 5th, we subpoenaed the full unredacted Epstein files, and the administration has not even attempted to comply with that subpoena. And part of why we launched a bipartisan effort to change the law to force them through the Epstein File Transparency Act to comply with our subpoena is because they were not complying to begin with. Then they missed the deadline, the over-redacted, and Todd Blanche himself said today that basically they've released everything they're going to release. Well, that is not compliance with the law. In addition to that, I think what we were all shocked by today is that Pam Bondy was asked multiple times by my colleagues if she would comply with the subpoena for her own deposition under oath, and she refused to answer yes. So I think we can say very squarely that the cover-up continues.
So, Congresswoman, I believe we're here today because I think it was 4 or 5 Republicans on the Oversight Committee joined with all the Democrats to force Pam Bondy to come before the committee. Do the Republicans on the committee who joined you for that, are they with you in terms of the outrage you're obviously feeling?
Okay, so it appears that Donald Trump won that one, okay? So I thought about it. Maybe Kamala would have been a better number 2. So let's switch it up now. So let's stop the original vote. Let's end that. Let's knock that one right out, okay? So now we're going to start the next one. It seems that most people felt like Trump would have been better if war was imminent with Iran coming on American soil, okay? So now we're going to do 1 for Trump, 2 for Kamala Harris. Let's see. If Iran, some other country, Russia, China is coming after our heads, who would you rather be the president? Let's see what you say. 1 for Trump, 2 for Kamala Harris. Thank you. Or Kamala Harris, whichever way it is.
About the fact that Bondy is not sitting for a deposition, and also the fact that the administration is not complying with the Epstein Transparency Act.
Well, I'll note that the subpoena for Pam Bondy to appear under oath was actually issued by Nancy Mace, who is a Republican from South Carolina. I did not see her in the room this afternoon. I don't know why, but I think it was clear that our colleagues across the aisle were running interference for Pam Bondy and Todd Blanche, asking them leading questions. And like I said, it was set up like a sham hearing, not a briefing. They did not come in with any new information. They did not provide any sworn statements. And it appeared that our colleagues were basically trying to say, hey, look, they showed up. And we are not going to accept that as compliance with the law, because the law is clear. We have subpoenaed them, we have subpoenaed the files, and we have passed.
Okay, so I don't know how this works. So the first vote, Donald Trump won. The second vote, Kamala Harris. Now I'm stumped. I don't know how that worked for the same crowd, same audience. So, wow, I'll have to really consider that one. So Kamala won, and a lot of people are bracing for her to run again as president, right? So that's quite intriguing, I must say.
Passed a bipartisan Transparency Act, which the president signed himself, and they have not complied with the law.
How do you reconcile that before you go? How do you reconcile the fact that Republicans overwhelmingly voted for the Transparency Act? The Senate
Yeah, that's right, Ron. That's crazy. Like, how did that happen? But I'm not fussing about it, but I just find it intriguing. Country Carpenter says intelligence. All right, okay. Tori Rice says, I'm double tapping for like. It's not working. Okay, so try to just go over in the top corner on the cell phone, I believe, and just click the like button. Sometimes you have to pull the screen down a bit or what have you. They make it so complicated depending on what device you're on. But thank you for all the likes, share, subscribe. Thank you. Turn on your notifications. We do this every day at noon Eastern Standard Time. Tune back in tomorrow night, too, at 7 p.m. We'll have criminal defense attorney Calvin Johnson on, too. Tonight, if all is favorable, I'll try to do a deep dive. I'll do a poll to see what subject matter. But if you want to put in what you would like to see a deep dive on in the chat right now, I'll use the top 3 to put a poll on the community wall to see what people want to see tonight. And I'll go and do a deep dive and break it down for you. So now we're going to look at the situation with ICE. This man that worked along with the United States of America, he was picked up by ICE in the United States and he died. It's a sad story. I want to share it with you guys and see what you have to say about it. It's quite sad.
A CBS News investigation has uncovered new details about the death of a migrant from Afghanistan in ICE custody this past weekend. Mohammed Nazir Pakhtawal is the 12th person this year to die while being detained by federal immigration officials. CBS News immigration correspondent Camila Montoya Galvez spoke with his family.
I just want an answer from my dad. That's it. I want to know why he died.
Imran Pakhtawal's father, 41-year-old Afghan immigrant Mohammed Nazir Pakhtawal, died in ICE custody this past weekend. He was detained as he was getting ready to take his children to school. 24 hours later, the father of 6 became the 12th person to die in ICE custody less than 3 months into 2026. Nazir Pakhtawal received the body of his brother on Tuesday.
I received a call from my sister-in-law. She said that some people show up from nowhere and they just took your brother.
No explanation?
Nothing.
ICE says Pakhtawal was detained after 2 arrests by local authorities on fraud and theft charges. He was not convicted. His brother points to a decade of service in the Afghan military, fighting alongside U.S. forces before being evacuated to the U.S. in 2021.
These are the people that my brother was working.
American soldiers.
American soldiers in Afghanistan.
That's your brother.
Oh my goodness. Did Sassy Mo say that Trump is out on bail? He's the president while he's out on bail? Oh my God.
Right there.
This is my brother. This is his badge.
It is still unclear exactly what happened after Pakhtawal was detained.
I received a call. They told me, we arrested your brother and he wants to talk to you.
What did he tell you?
He said, Nasir, I don't know where am I right now and I'm not feeling well.
What do you think happened?
That's my question. Why is he dead?
Is there anybody in the chat that feels sorry for this event, or do you feel like ICE? A lot of people say that ICE must go, right? But then some people say, no, we need ICE because we have so many undocumented illegal immigrants in the country, all right? So we're going to do our final poll for today. Put a 1 in the chat if you want ICE to be gone. Put a 2 in the chat if you think we need ICE, as they say, ICE, baby. So 1 for ICE to go, 2 if you think ICE is very important for our country.
ICE says he died at a local hospital and is investigating.
He was a good dad.
For 12-year-old Imran, his father's absence is hard to process. But how he remembers him is clear.
He was a hero, and he will be always a hero.
Camila Montoya Galvez, Dallas.
And
so that's the story I wanted to share with you guys because I said, wow, that's quite striking, I must say. Okay, so now we're going to move on. We're running out of time here, and I want to go over this case that I'll be in court for on Monday. So we still have a lot to cover, but I want to get through the main points of today.
Down lower than we've been in 7 years, gasoline prices and oil prices, not just the 3 states that I talk about with $1.99 a gallon. How would you like to have $1.99? You know, That's the equivalent of a very major tax cut.
Welcome back. Now, that was President Trump in Pennsylvania back in December, touting low energy and gas prices. Today, the average price for a gallon of gas in Pennsylvania is $3.76, according to AAA. That's higher than last week, and it's up more than 60 cents from a month ago. NBC News senior national politics reporter John Allen has been speaking with Pennsylvania voters. He's been out kind of on a road trip here in Millersburg, about 25 miles north of Harrisburg. He joins me now. And John, I understand you're sort of in a Trump supportive part.
Okay, guys, let's go through. We're going to check out what's happening with gas here. You're going to be shocked with what some of the people say. BJ says it's like walking into the grocery store and calling everyone with groceries in their carts a thief. It's not illegal to come into our country and claim asylum or apply for citizenship here. Trump cheats. Okay, thank you. We had this discussion a couple days ago. So, great job. Thomas says the high gas prices are temporary. That is what the president of the United States is saying, that this is just an excursion. Thank you for that as well. Let's get to it about gas.
Of Pennsylvania, and there are a lot of those in Pennsylvania. What are you hearing about how people there are feeling about gas prices, and are they factoring that into how they view the war in Iran?
Well, first, Kelly, I would be remiss if I did not wish Kelly O'Donnell a happy St. Patrick's Day.
Right back at you, my friend.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I'm genetically required to be in green.
Pennsylvania. And,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Lisa says MAGA likes high gas prices now. Oh my goodness.
You're on the road trip
lovely
here.
and green. Okay, so I'm in Millersburg, Pennsylvania. The reason I'm here is it's a swing district, Pennsylvania's 10th district in a swing state. President Trump won this.
She also says MAGA likes war now.
District by about 5 points, but the local congressman, Scott Perry, is in danger of losing the midterms. And we wanted to talk to people about their feelings about gas prices, about the war. You mentioned Pennsylvania's average gas price, about $3.76 a gallon right now. We went to like the cheapest place around, $3.54.9 a gallon here, and talk to folks. Better you hear from them than from me about how they're feeling.
Let's roll the tape.
The decision to strike Iran.
It was a great decision. I think somebody else should have done it a couple of years ago, the last 3 other presidents.
Are you willing to pay higher prices at the pump if that's the cost?
Yeah, I'm willing to pay a little more, yeah.
What do you think about the war?
I think he's doing the right thing. You know, in the long run, it's going to help us out because if they get nuclear weapons, we might not even be here in a couple of years. So I think he's doing a good job.
Is it worth the rise in the price of gas?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
What do you think about the U.S. decision to go into Iran?
I think we got
So this lady is part of MAGA.
to do what we got to do to keep this country safe. So, and if it means paying a little bit more in gas right now to keep everybody safe, then that's what we got to do. And eventually they'll come back down.
And Kelly, most of the people we talked to were supportive of the war and willing to pay the higher gas prices for the war. Some of them because they believe in the goals of the war, others because they trust President Trump. But not everybody felt that way, and not everybody's excited about Trump here, and not everybody's planning to vote for Republicans in the midterms who supported Trump. Let's take a listen to one more woman who we spoke with. If you could say something to President Trump, he was going to hear you right now.
Now, she's a Trump supporter. Let's see what she has to say.
Now, what would it be?
You're a worthless pile of
And you voted for him how many times?
3 times. That was my bad. Apparently,
She voted for the president 3 times.
I'm an idiot.
So not
Well, lots of
everyone is thrilled with
personality there,
President Trump,
John.
as you
Lots
heard.
of
Wait a minute,
personality.
I want to hear what she said one more time.
Woman who we spoke with. If you could say something to President Trump, he was going to hear you right now, what would it be?
You're a worthless pile of
And you voted for him how many times?
3 times. That was my bad. Apparently, I'm an idiot.
So not
Well, lots of
everyone is thrilled with
personality there,
President Trump,
John.
as you
Lots
heard,
of
Kelly.
personality. Yes.
right? Not everyone's thrilled with him. That was a voter who voted for him 3 times. She went on to talk about the gas prices. She went on to talk about the war, about not supporting.
Man, that's rough, brothers. That's rough.
The idea of us, basically going around the world. So a lot to process there. But this is going to be the real pressure test for President Trump and Republicans in the midterms, is how many of the people who voted for him are A, sticking with Republicans, and B, going to show up in the midterms. And I think that's still an open question here, just several months out from those midterms, Kelly.
Nothing.
All right, guys. So here, I hate is a strong word. I regret to show this next video because it seems that when a lot of individuals get into office, they get hit with these SA allegations, can't keep their hands to themselves or what have you. So that happened. There's a case in New York against a former mayor, and the city was paying the legal fees, I guess. So the new mayor says, oh, no way. We're not going to have it today.
In another move against former Mayor Adams, the Mamdani administration asked a court to allow them to stop representing Adams in a sexual assault case. Lawyers say that they don't think the former mayor is entitled to their representation and asked.
Now, this mayor, he had given Sean Diddy Combs the keys to the city. And once Diddy was hit with Sean Combs was hit with all of these charges, they took back his key, right? And lo and behold, this mayor has he has a case, a weird case, we're going to call it.
For approval to withdraw from the case. A spokesperson for Adams refused to comment on the case itself, but insisted that when he was mayor, Adams, quote, conducted himself with professionalism and a deep commitment to the people of New York City.
Okay, so there you have it. They're pulling the money strings back, and I think it's probably a great idea, depending on the circumstances. Now we're going to switch up a little bit. I want to cover this case that I'll be out in Massachusetts covering this week. If you guys want to tune in for it, it's quite the case. We're going to go through a couple videos just to get the history on it. So when I start covering the case on Monday, you guys will know what it's all about and what exactly we're doing. Let's get to it, folks. Let's get to it.
Police officer in the Boston area is now accused of breaking the law in an alleged assault against a fellow cop.
All the Commonwealth has to do is ask the officers. There's 4 officers that were at the scene.
Officers were at the home of Fitzsimmons in June. They were serving her with a restraining order that included removing her baby after.
Guys, let's get the likes up, like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Also hit the heart button if you don't mind it, or what have you, just to get more energy going.
Fiance claimed she assaulted him and feared for his and their baby's safety. According to the prosecutors, while Fitzsimmons was gathering some of her son's things, Officer Noonan observed the defendant face him, lunge behind the door, and reappear, pointing a firearm directly at him. The defendant pulled the trigger and he heard a click, but no round fired. The officer at the scene then shot Fitzsimmons in the chest. Fitzsimmons was subsequently charged with assault with a dangerous weapon. Fitzsimmons claims she wasn't trying to hurt anyone but herself. She says she had been suffering from postpartum depression and in a statement said this: "My firearm was never pointed in any direction other than my temple. When I pulled the trigger, my gun did not fire. However, I immediately got shot in the chest." Meanwhile, Fitzsimmons is in custody, locked up while she awaits her trial. Her bond was revoked after allegedly failing to comply with alcohol testing. She says the injury to her chest made it too difficult to use a breathalyzer.
Welcome back. We are taking you beyond the gavel, a peek behind the courtroom scenes to see how the judicial process plays out. And in Massachusetts, Kelsey Fitzsimmons was back in court today, where a date has been set for the custody battle assault trial, March 23rd,
So on Monday, I'll be in the courtroom and reporting on this case. If you guys want to tune in this week, it should be a case. The judge is no jury for this case, so I imagine maybe 2 days, 3 days tops that I'll be in Massachusetts. But definitely will be covering this.
26 is when we expect this to go in front of a jury. She's out on bail now. Last month, a judge ruled that Fitzsimmons could be released pending trial after her attorney told the court she was now able to comply with alcohol testing. And before that, she was held in jail without bond for more than 100 days. A lot of issues being talked about on a case like this one. So let's talk about it with our power panel, bringing back in Molly Palmer, David Schnipper, and Amelia Rivello. Amelia, I want to start with you on this one. Tell me what's your initial opinion of this one, starting with the shooting. I mean, she's being served with documents, and they want to take her child. And her reaction is, she says, to hold the gun to her own head, but they say she was firing in a way that was threatening.
Whoever's still hitting the hearts, you guys are so amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
To the officers, and she was shot in the chest.
Yes, I mean, obviously her mental state is going to be extremely important in this case as well. Apparently she has been suffering from postpartum depression, so definitely they're going to need to put on some kind of medical expert to testify as to that and how it could have given her PTSD and would have prompted her to act like that in a stressful situation. I also think that it's a unique situation where they basically denied her bond because she wasn't able to comply with alcohol testing. I mean, that just seems like a very unreasonable situation. She was literally shot in the chest because of this. And if there's ever a reason to deviate from standard bond, I mean, I would think it would be that. She wasn't able to use the breathalyzer to blow into the breathalyzer because of her deflated lung. So I'm not too sure why there wasn't an alternative solution here. She could have done mandatory drug testing once a week through blood. I think it was a little bit unreasonable of the prosecution and also for the court.
Oh, yeah, we're going to talk more about that bond and those conditions and just.
Thank you, Cameron, for subscribing to the channel. It means a lot. Thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you.
Just a moment, Molly, I want to go back to the actual shooting of this officer in a situation where there were multiple officers. Is there a conversation to be had about training for officers in a situation like this? Were there factors that maybe more could have been?
You guys are going in calling her Psycho Becky. Oh, my.
Taken into consideration.
I think there's always a conversation to be had when it comes to things like
Oh, my goodness. Lisa says Nobel Prize. That is too funny.
de-escalation, and somebody who's potentially holding a gun to their own head, suffering from postpartum depression. I mean, unfortunately, this has become more and more common when it comes to police interactions. And yes, it's incredibly difficult to be a law enforcement officer. She was one herself.
Wildy, as a paralegal, definitely lock in with us. Send me an email. We really need a good paralegal on deck. Thank you.
But the reality is there has to be some sort of recognition that somebody is in extreme psychological distress on a level that can avoid a tragedy like this happening. And it's always difficult.
This is a crazy story. I can't wait to go check it out in court and tell you what's happening. Also, this week I'll be in court on the 26th with Nicolas Maduro, so tune in Thursday for that as well. Hit the like button, guys. Let's get the likes up, share, subscribe. Thank you.
To see and to hear a scenario wherein perhaps a little more training could have made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, agreed. David, what do you think about the shooting itself and whether or not anyone else should be looked at when it comes to this? Because, of course, they're saying that she was the one who's at fault.
I mean, this is just bizarre. I mean, first of all, she needs a lot of help, right? She needs a lot of help. She's very disturbed, postpartum, whatever psychologicalness is going on. And let's say that she does get the help. She should probably never be a law enforcement officer again. But I look at it differently. I look at it that, like, if she was to have the gun to her head, who knows if you have a gun here, who knows if you can't do that? I mean, the officer in a way shot her in a way that it wasn't crazy, detrimental, compromising.
So, guys, I said I would only do one more vote. We're going to do one more. I'm sorry. I gave in to the vibe. So put a 1 in the chat if you think she was right, or put a 2 in the chat if you think the officers were right. Let's see what everybody thinks so far about this case. A 1 for her, a 2 for the officers, even though she was an officer too. Isn't that weird?
Injuries for like ever. So it could have been a lot worse. That maybe that officer shot her in a way that that she's going to survive it and be okay, because who knows what she could have done. Because from what I read, she's saying that she was trying to commit suicide. What are you trying to commit suicide for? So, I mean, there's so many moving parts to this. And the fact is that, you know, she now is trying to get her child back. The state isn't allowing that. I mean, she needs a lot of help. I think that's probably what we all can agree on.
Yeah, Amelia's shaking her head along
Hey, pretty things, I'm with you.
with that. Amelia, what's your take on the custody part of this? Because that's already going to be difficult. Her fiance is a first responder. He's the one who successfully got a restraining order saying that she was violent. Are we going to see him come in and testify at this assault trial?
Oh, I'm sure he's going to come in and testify, obviously. And I think that any court would be persuaded to essentially get rid of or revoke her custody completely after something like this. I mean, having a criminal allegation to this magnitude is a very serious offense, and I do not see the court allowing her to have custody after this. Maybe not forever, but in the interim, definitely it's going to affect her custody case. The court is probably going to, if the court does allow her to have visitation with her child, it's definitely going to be some kind of supervised visits, maybe even at the police station or at a neutral place where she can be supervised.
Molly, last 30 seconds. She's out on bond now.
Yeah, finally. I mean, it's always frustrating to see like really onerous bond conditions that, you know, maybe your client can't afford, that they just can't comply.
Yeah, so this is a strange one, just to say the least. I'm not sure exactly how to take this one. This is a difficult one, but we're going to keep looking at it a little bit more here to see what else we can discover in regards to this case. So let's keep moving. Let's check it out.
Let's go now to another NBC 10 Boston exclusive tonight, as we are hearing from the former fiance of Kelsey Fitzsimmons, the North Andover police officer who was shot by a fellow officer. Fitzsimmons contends her fiance broke into her house days later to steal evidence in their ongoing child custody case. NBC 10's Robert Golston brings us the exclusive one-on-one.
Kelsey Fitzsimmons' estranged fiancé, Justin Alayan, sat down with NBC 10 Boston to share his side of the story. He did not want the interview recorded. He admits this is him with 3 others, forcing the door open to the home where he lived with Fitzsimmons until they're falling out. Alayan and his attorney shared documents they say prove he still lived there, and he told us, "I had every legal right to get into my own home, to get my belongings, and more importantly, my son's belongings."
He has no rights to that house whatsoever.
Fitzsimmons' attorney Tim Bradle says when Alayan requested the restraining orders days earlier, he signed an affidavit that said he no longer lived there and lied to the officer when he asked for an escort.
He says that he still lives there. Completely contradicts what he already swore to the probate court judge, family court judge, to get the restraining order.
Bradle argued Alayan is not being charged because the DA needs him to testify against Fitzsimmons in the criminal case. He is on the witness list for Fitzsimmons' criminal case, but not a key witness.
He might be a background witness. He heard the shots, but as far as what happened in the bedroom, he has no idea.
Alayan told us he did not touch any of Fitzsimmons' stuff on the day in question, and he said he even called police when the alarm went off. He also told her father that day, "I tried to do everything to help your daughter." Fitzsimmons' criminal case will be back in court on Thursday, with a trial scheduled to start on March 23rd. In Lexington, Robert Goulston, NBC 10 Boston.
And be sure to stay with us.
All right, so I'll be covering this. It's quite strange. You know, seeing a lot of moving parts with this case. Also, it seemed like she was having some mental issues, I must say, but we're going to try to figure it all out. We're going to keep moving here and see one more video in regards to try to understand the history of this case. Let's get to this one too.
North Andover police officer Kelsey Fitzsimmons, accused of waving a gun at her colleagues, today waived her right to a jury trial. So instead, her case will be decided by a judge.
I made a good decision with.
So definitely, guys, come back on Monday. Support me with this case. It's quite the drive, but I'm going to do it. We're going to see what's happening.
I chose the judge to be the fact finder of the case, and I think that just makes the most sense in my case.
Fitzsimmons is charged with assault with a dangerous weapon. Prosecutors say officers were serving her a restraining order when Fitzsimmons pulled out her service weapon and pointed it at a fellow officer, who then fired in self-defense. Fitzsimmons says she never pointed the gun at the officers. WBZ legal analyst Jennifer Roman laid out how this decision for a bench trial will affect the case.
Procedurally, bench trials go faster because you don't need to take the time to impanel a jury, which in a case like this, it's gotten a lot of publicity. The impanelment time alone could be several days. I mean, we've seen that
Hey, thank you, Matt. Thanks for subscribing. Nice to have you. Shout out to you.
most recently with other cases like Karen Reed's case, for example. So on the one hand, this will make the case go much faster. The other strategy consideration here is that her and her defense team clearly think that a judge will be more understanding, perhaps even sympathetic to the theories of the case that they're putting forward, as opposed to a jury who may not be as understanding or sympathetic of the issues that they're going to be raising and the theories they're going to be raising.
And because it won't take time to find a jury, Fitzsimmons' trial is expected to begin on Monday.
Okay, we'll be there in full effect, bringing you the highlights of this particular case and so much more. So, a lot of people are new here today. I just want to give you guys a quick run through of what to expect here at Watching the World on the day today. We have people here that are Republican, that are Democrat, independents, right? A lot of us, we just try to follow the facts. We're not really committed to colors like some gang members, but we're here to try to elevate and make good decisions in life, because life is forever changing, and we do truly understand that. The amazing part is the people that we have coming through. As you can see today, a lot of the comments, I looked over sometimes, it was too funny. You guys are Nobel Prize. That is crazy about the president. He wants a Nobel Peace Prize, and he's out on bail, so Nobel Prize. That is too funny. Who came up with that in the audience? You guys are too funny to me. Country Carpenter, that's right. Thank you so much. When I see names coming back, so amazing. So Monday, we're going to be covering this case here. I don't know what to make of it, but we'll try to figure it out. I'll be in court all day listening to the facts. On Thursday, we have Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, the former president, although according to this administration, he was never president, should not have been president. But at any rate, when I was in court before for Nicolas Maduro, he stated that the government, right, the United States government, the military came in and took him out of his home and brought him to the United States and put him in a cell. And recently, we hear all of the reports of how miserable it is for him to be in a cell with rats and roaches, and the food is less than desirable. And you can only imagine what his wife has gone through. They're both so miserable, but they were the presidents and first lady of Venezuela. One day you're on top of the world, the next day the world's on top of you. Isn't that something? So we'll be covering that. Sean Diddy Combs has an appeal coming up, so I will be covering that in April. There's a lot to unpack with Sean Diddy Combs. Some feel like he will be coming home. The criminal defense attorney, Calvin Johnson, who has been quite favorable to Sean Diddy Combs, is, as far as the facts go, he feels like Diddy won't be coming home. Now, let me tell you, Calvin Johnson was the only person that predicted the real time that Sean Diddy Combs would get, because he said 50 months, and I believe Diddy received 49, or vice versa, okay? So Calvin, his position now is that Diddy will have to serve out the remaining of his time, which they say he'll be home in 28. And I saw recently where he had 1 month knocked off. So we have that case coming up. Another case that we have is Luigi Mangione. He's a young man who allegedly took the life of Brian Thompson here on the streets of New York City about 6-something in the morning, a little over a year ago, right? Around Christmas time. He has 2 cases. His last court appearance, he had a big outburst where he's saying, double jeopardy, how can you give me 2 cases for the same incident? So his first state case will be June 8th or 9th, give or take. I'll be covering that case in the state court. But then in September, starting on the 8th or 9th, starts his federal court. Now, he was facing the death penalty, but through the last court action, that was taken off the table. I was actually in court for that, so I've learned so much about these cases, you'd be amazed. I'm also going to fit in the case involving Tyler Robertson. Now, this case is so intriguing to me with Tyler Robertson because that involves Charlie Kirk. But I want you guys to pay attention. Go back and look at the video I did with the interview of Tucker Carlson with Joe Kent. Joe Kent was the top guy for counterterrorism, and he resigned about 2 days ago. But he's making it seem that Israel, he's kind of going down the same road as Candace Owens. So when I hear things like that, I'm not like everybody to say, oh my goodness, this guy's crazy. No, I listen and I take it all in, try to see how all of these pieces fit together. So what does this mean? I'll be covering that case out of Utah. I'm also covering Carmelo Anthony out of Texas. That's the young man who allegedly took the life of a schoolmate. Well, this guy was at a different school. They were playing, I guess, some sport, basketball, football. Started raining, so he went into the wrong tent, allegedly. They got into some sort of ordeal, and the other guy ended up being unalived, right? We say unalived because YouTube does not like the other words. And he used a pointed utensil to do so. You guys know what that is, right? So I'll be in Texas for that. I'll be doing a lot of work with Calvin while I'm in Texas, boots on the ground. I'll also be out in London covering Chris Brown has a case coming up where he got into an altercation in a nightclub. Hopefully, when I do go to London, it'll be less of a war environment, even though it's not the same area. Woo, too much for my blood, you know what I mean? So we have so much and more. I just came back from Tucson, Arizona from covering Nancy Guthrie. I was on boots on the ground for over a week. If there's some major new development, I might go back out for that. That was a weird case, especially not being able to speak to the sheriff and things like that. They kept saying, we don't want anybody searching. Like, what does that mean? Even while I was there, boots on the ground, the president of the United States says, listen, we need to move on from this case. There's other news to cover. Like all of this, we wonder when the lady was kidnapped, if you think she's still alive, then every moment is very important in trying to retrieve her, right? A suffering human being, a loved one, right? So all of this gets to be confused, and we try to make sense of it all. And the nice thing is we get the viewpoints of so many different people from around the world tuning in to Watching the World 777. Thank you so much. It's your comments, it's your likes, it's your shares. All of that helps to push the channel so that we can keep doing what we do. We do so trying to obey and work along with the rules of YouTube because we know that could be a big problem. But thank you so much. All the familiarness coming through, all the moderators and so forth. We've had a great show. We spent 2 hours today, which is quite some time. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. It's been marvelous to have you here. Country Carpenter says, Mel, have a good day. J-Cat says, bye, Mel. Thanks for all you do. You guys are so amazing. It's nice to be able to look into the chat and recognize those names, knowing that we have solid people that tune in for their reason. And I imagine that that's a good reason. We see our moderators like Lisa. Thank you. Bye to you, Lisa. Matt, Sassy Mo's in the building. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much. Monday I'll be in court, so there won't be any news at noon. But I will be live streaming to give you some updates about this case that we just introduced to you today. Nancy Guthrie, I will be covering a little bit here and there. But, you know, I think we've hit this weird point in that case where I don't even think the authorities know what happened to her. It almost seemed like someone did this at such a high level, and that's the reason why. Like this was some secret, top secret mission. Like how would they not have a clue if it was just Joe Smo from down the road? But you never know. Maybe he got lucky. We don't know. But something is strange, awfully strange about this case. And we will keep bringing you any new breaking developments. Thank you so much. Thank you, Purple Groovy. Nice to see you. Carlos, okay, M. Motley. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. And Wildy, thank you for being here today. We have a paralegal. It will be nice to have you. Somebody that knows about those important papers and about these cases. It takes a lot to navigate these cases in court. And sometimes when the case is going on, would you believe just to print out papers in court, sometimes they want $2, $7, $8 a page. What is going on? I noticed with Sean Diddy Combs, they wanted so much per page. Man, that'll break the rich man, right? But at any rate, thank you so much. Have a great day. Be well. Whatever you're doing today, do it with your best. Make sure you're paying attention to yourself and to your safety, because typically people that go missing, or every day we have vile things happening to people, I imagine that most of those people feel like nothing would happen to them either. Okay, so we have to stay alert. We're so busy on our phones, swiping and chatting, texting while driving, doing all these things that it's so easy for someone to take advantage of you if you're not focused and you're just letting life consume you with all of the things that this world has to offer. And so be wise and be well. Thank you. Thank you. You're far too kind. Thank you for all the support. And thanks for being here with Watching the World 7/7. We cover these important cases. We try to bring you as much facts as possible. We also try to have a measure of truth, not just making up stories just to get a click or a like. We want you to be able to walk away and feel like someone told you the closest to the truth as we can. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great day.
Different voices, but the same song. Living a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the thing remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Peaceful flight, colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.